You started the brand back in 2009. You invented this category.
I put my whole family on a gut healing protocol and saw these amazing difference in my daughter's skin, her focus at school, my skin. I had $3,000. I was still working at the time as a journalist, writing and also styling. There was no ingestible category, so there was no shelves to put it on. Word of mouth is so powerful. I still think that is one of the most powerful forms of media now. Got approached by an agent at TVSN. He said, I heard about this magical purple powder that you have. Everyone's raving about it. Would you go on TV and sell it?
What were those early signs in the beginning that made you think, okay, no, this is something that is going to be a big movement?
I knew I could really build a brand. But did I think it was going to be bigger than it was? No. We launched into 400 Sephora stores in the US too early, before people really understood the category. And I think people are more open to innovative ideas now. I think it's so important for founders to be able to still find time to really connect with the customer. And so people ask me, do you get worried about competition? And I don't need to win. I just need to shine. Somehow it got out into all the media that Meghan Markle loved the beauty chef. We saw this incredible increase in our sales of like 20% and it stayed. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. You have to just keep trying and not be disheartened.
Hey, business besties, welcome back to Female Founder World. It's Jasmine. I'm the host of the show, and today I'm chatting with Carla Oates, the founder of The Beauty Chef. Carla, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
For people that don't know The Beauty Chef, what are you building?
So The Beauty Chef was founded on the philosophy that beauty begins in the belly. And we create biofermented probiotic elixirs, powders, capsules, now chewable tablets to really support gut health, skin health and wellness. So I've written 3 books now, recipe books and books that really take people through how to heal their gut for optimum health and well-being.
You started the brand back in 2009, is that right?
Yeah.
And you were the first, you invented this category. What does somebody do in the early days to get a product out into the world when it is an entirely new category? Nothing like this has been done before.
Yeah.
What are those steps and how do you get traction in the beginning?
Well, it was so hard, and I don't think I really thought it through, to be honest, because I'd stumbled across this idea of the connection between gut health and skin health through helping my daughter with her skin and health issues. Years back when I'd had eczema and allergies, I knew that really looking after your skin holistically and getting real results, it was an inside-out job. So I stumbled across this research that looked at the connection between certain types of gut bacteria and allergies and eczema. And I put my whole family on a gut healing protocol and saw these amazing difference in my daughter's skin, her focus at school, my skin. And so from that Glow, it really seeded Glow, which was our first ingestible powder. Glow in a Beauty Powder, which is 24 biofermented superfoods, pre, pro and postbiotics that really nurtured gut health and skin health. And so I had this product, I built a website, I had $3,000 and I was still working at the time as a journalist, writing and also styling. And I thought, how am I actually going to get this out into the world? I had this unwavering belief in what I'd created. And I could see through my friends and my family that they were getting these amazing results with it. Their skin was glowier, they were more regular, they had more energy, less inflammation, they just felt better. And so I guess there was no ingestible category, so there was no shelves to put it on. I got some press, I got some love from magazines who thought it was just quite a novel concept. So Vogue did a story, I think Italian Vogue even did a story on it. So it had a little bit of a cult following. Word of mouth is so powerful. I still think that is one of the most powerful forms of media now. And friends told their family, who told their aunts and uncles and work colleagues. The momentum started building and the word started getting out there. And then I got approached by an agent at TVSN. And he said, I heard about this magical purple powder that you have. And he said, everyone's raving about it. Would you go on TV and sell it? And I was really dubious about it because I was like, do I have to get on and say, and that's not all, you get a set of steak knives for free? And he said, no, you just need to get up on air and talk authentically about the product and educate. And it was an educational product because, again, it was so left of field. And the paradigm in the beauty industry at the time was all about topical skincare and not very healthy topical skincare either. So it was very one-dimensional, the beauty industry back then. And I wanted to really try and shift that paradigm. I had to educate people about gut health, then about fermented foods and bacteria and how that impacts your skin. So there's a lot of education, which was perfect for home shopping because it gave me 45 minutes to talk to the customer and really educate them. And it resonated. We are now like the number one selling health brand on TV shop, on
Wow.
TVSN, all these years later. And so then it started building. Then I got an article one of our first stockists was in New York, Cat Beauty, these gorgeous two founders who were so ahead of their time, and they started a clean beauty and wellness shop. It's so beautiful. It's still beautiful. And New York Times interviewed them. And they said their best-selling product was from the Beauty Chef, a company in Australia, and called Glow in a Beauty Powder. And then the calls started coming in thick and fast from Goop and Bloomingdale's and Selfridges. And at that point, that was years after I'd launched, I realized that ingestible beauty was becoming a global conversation.
And I think it's like really important for people to understand and remember 2009
Yeah,
when you launched this product, not only was ingestible beauty and gut health kind of not a thing people spoke about or
yeah.
understood, clean, it was very early for even
Mm.
clean beauty as a
It
concept.
was.
Like, I think I was using like Proactive in 2009. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, that's it. I mean, and my journey had started earlier because I
Hmm.
decided to quit my job as a beauty editor in, I think it was maybe 2000. And I wrote a book called Feeding Your Skin for Penguin, which was all about recipes. I just did a new edition of the book last year in December. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, it was so niche. And
Hmm.
everyone thought it was just a bit hippie. It was like, papaya and olive oil on your face and how to make your own creams and how to nourish your skin microbiome. And I think back and I'm like, wow, like it did well back in 2002 when it was launched. But it was a smaller following and hippie beauty. And I love now that when we released the book last year, you could just see in terms of the sales and how it just resonated so much more and how that idea has gone much more mainstream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting. And it's been, as someone who worked in the beauty industry as well before I started Female Founder World, like watching
Yeah.
that shift
Yeah.
and seeing the Beauty Chef pioneer it. And what you've done is completely create this entirely new category for beauty. For people who are building something, they have an idea
Yeah.
and they think that they are really early on a trend or they
Yes.
think they're really early on a movement. How do you decipher between, okay, I'm just early and I need to knuckle down and focus on education
Mm.
and I believe in this versus maybe the world's just not ready for this or this isn't going to work. Like
Yeah.
what were those early signs in the beginning that made you think, okay, no, this is something that is going to be a big movement, or did you not care? You just wanted the product out there anyway?
Oh, I thought it's interesting because I knew it worked and I knew I was onto something and I
Yeah.
truly believed in it. And it made sense. I looked at the science, I looked at the studies, I looked at the empirical evidence. People who were using it had these incredible results.
Mm,
So I knew it worked. And if you've got a great product and a great idea and it works and you can build, you can build a world around it and a brand and a lifestyle and a philosophy and you've got this long runway for education, which I knew I had, I knew I could really build a brand. But did I think it was going to be bigger than it was? No. I thought it was going to be niche. I thought it was going to be very naturopathic. I thought I would have enough to have a sustainable long-term business. And I knew it was going to take me a while. I knew that it resonated with people who were into wellness. So I also tried to really target those people. I think back then too, it was much harder because there was no social media. I mean, you can
mm.
now connect with people in real time. And I think people are more open to innovative ideas now than they were back then. So I think it's a great time if you have an idea. You don't have to spend as much money because you can go, let's just test it a little bit. Let's put it out there through social media. Let's get some instant feedback. Let's connect with the community customers and see if it resonates. So I'm a big believer. I'm always, saying to female founders when they ask me for advice, try it. And if you get results, like if people are seeing results from what you're using and there is a gap in the market, they're two really important things. So it's like gap in the market, it's unique, great USPs. You've trialed it on a group of people, 50 people, and you're getting feedback that it's incredible and it works and it's a gap in the market, then go for it.
I want to share some more kind of milestones and things that the Beauty Chef and you have achieved just to help people understand where you're at in this founder story. I think that everyone listening knows the brand and knows who the Beauty Chef is, but just in case they don't. So you have helped more than 1.5 million customers through Glow, which is
Yeah.
that first product, but then
Yeah.
you've gone on to launch many more SKUs. How many SKUs do you have now?
We have around 30
Yeah,
SKU.
wow, okay,
Yeah.
so a lot more. 400 Sephora stores, is that right?
We were in
You were in
400,
400?
and when we talked the other day, I was explaining how important it is that for us, we've just launched in this year 500 Chemist Warehouse stores.
Mhm,
The timing is brilliant because people understand wellness more. Chemist Warehouse is a wellness destination, but we launched into 400 Sephora stores in the US too early before
mhm,
people really understood the category. And so I've seen inner beauty, ingestible beauty come in and out of beauty retail a lot over the however many years. And, going into fashion-led or really trend-led retailers and partnering with them is great for discovery and salience, but really it's so important for your brand to go where the customer's already educated about what you do, or it can provide a platform for deep education when you've got a really complex product. And so going to Sephora, and that was in 2014, so
yeah,
it was really premature. And I was friends with the vice president, Cindy, who's just absolutely gorgeous and really progressive. And she was obsessed with the beauty show. She's like, I want to put it into every Sephora store. But what we quickly realized is that the customer wasn't ready. They just weren't educated about it. Our product is very elegant looking. It was quiet on shelf. You go into Sephora stores and it's dynamic and it's bold and it's loud and people want makeup and
mhm.
perfume. And then there's this really lovely kind of refined, elegant looking range that was premium too, not cheap. And it needed a whole lot of education and they weren't equipped for it at the time. So they launched wellness. They launched our brand and a whole lot of other wellness
Yeah,
brands and they didn't work.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so interesting talking about how the product shows up on shelf, and then it's not something that they can open and necessarily put on their skin and
that's
see if
right.
it's
And
it
it's not instant.
yeah.
And that's the other thing is our products, yes, you take Glow and people say, I get an amazing energy. It makes me feel energized and uplifted. But it does take a little bit of time, like, we say up to a month for your skin
Yep.
cells to renew. And then some people, if their skin is really compromised, it can, be longer, 2 to 3 months. So consistency is key with ingestible products. They absolutely work. We've done consumer trials. We've got clinical studies of ingredients in a lot of our products. So they work. But it's not like you can put something on your face and you get an instant glow.
So the lesson there is that if you are someone who has a product that requires education, to go and find somewhere, like sell in places where either the like pointy end of your customer
That's
are
right.
hanging out or they have the capacity to educate.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so important.
Let's talk about education a little bit.
Yeah.
How are you doing that in the early days and how are you doing that now as a brand?
The early days, it was just me. So for
Love that.
a few
Relate.
years, I was literally writing the blogs. I wrote newsletters. My girlfriend who lived next door to me, she's a cinematographer and a photographer. So I go, Jay, come over. Can you take some images? So she'd take images for my website and blog and EDM. So I was doing it all myself. And that was amazing because I really connected with the customer. Like literally, it was just me. And even when I was doing TBS and I'd have the gorgeous customers call me and they'd be like, "Oh my God, am I really on the phone to Carla?" I'm like, "Yes, it's just me." But then it was like, "Oh my goodness, they want to talk for 2 hours."
Yeah.
And so then I started hiring people. And I think the thing is, as you get bigger as well, it's harder as a founder CEO when I'm trying to, be across so many different parts of the business, just, to stay that connected with the customer, which is so important. I think it's so important for founders to find ways that they can delegate to be able to still find time to really connect with the customer. And so we would just educate through newsletters, EDMs. Back then, digital media wasn't so big and there was no influencers.
Mhm.
Instagram, I would definitely get on Instagram. And in fact, back then I did a lot more connecting and a lot more recipe making on Instagram. And then I had my books as well. So that was a really great way to educate. So education and being on TVSN, which is a platform I get to talk, and I'm on there regularly. And education is super important, but also meeting your audience where they're at
Yeah.
with that education.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about TVSN and I think about channels like TikTok live shopping,
Yeah.
and there are all of these apps now where you can sell live and show up on camera,
Yeah.
and you don't have to wait for these gatekeepers at these big
So
networks.
true.
You can just get online
That's
and
it.
as the founder just create the content and be live and sell through these
Yeah.
platforms. And if you have a product like the Beauty Chef that you are launching now that requires education, that is 100% what I would be doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's so exciting, right?
Yeah.
For founders. It's just they have an opportunity to connect, not have to spend huge amounts of money on marketing spend like you did in the old times with traditional
Mm,
marketing. And you, as the most powerful tool in your brand, can connect with your customers in real time, right here, right now. And, also for some people, and I've spoken to founders, I spoke to a founder actually at the social summit. She was so gorgeous. And she said to me, I've followed you for ages. She said, how do you get up and speak? So I get so nervous.
mm,
And I said, I got really nervous as well. And it's taken time. When I first got onto TV, I was shaking and quivering, and it takes time. We all feel that nervousness, and that's normal. But if you really have an aversion to being in front of a camera, then Substack, then
yeah.
there's blogs. You can connect, you find what is comfortable for you
Mhm.
to be able to talk to your customer in a way that's real and authentic and resonates to them and is genuine.
You're right, there are so many different ways you can do it now.
Yeah.
Also, like, Instagram carousels are working really well for us right now because
Yes.
I find it
Yeah.
at this point in pregnancy, I'm like, I just don't wanna be in the camera. I wanna be a recluse right now.
Yeah.
And but Instagram carousels work really well. You can
That's
still
it.
show up, you can still tell your
That's
story,
right.
and it performs really, really well.
Yeah.
I wanna talk a little bit more about, like, this idea of building in public because this is
Mm.
something you did before I think the term "build in public" was, like, really coined.
Yeah.
And now we think about forward-facing founders as being maybe someone who built a following while they were building their brand and they're on
Yeah.
TikTok and we're watching their founder journey, and I love following those founders on TikTok,
Yes.
and that's great, or on YouTube. But you kind of came to this from a different lens because you were
Mm.
pre a lot of these platforms when you were launching.
Yeah.
And you came to this as someone who had like expertise and I guess already a name in the industry for yourself. And then you're obviously showing up on TVSN, but you also you won awards. You joined groups like Organic Australia, I think was
Yes.
one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in what you did in the beginning to kind
Mm.
of set yourself up as this like credible founder of the brand and to take people along in the journey,
Mm.
and maybe how you would do that differently now if you were launching something.
I mean, it is such a different landscape.
Yeah.
And again, we only had, in terms of getting the brand out there, we only really had traditional media to play with. And I guess writing books, awards, ambassadorships, those sorts of ways of really being able to build the brand and the platform. I guess also I had such a personal interest in organics.
Mm,
So I became the ambassador for Biological Farmers of Australia and also Australian Organic and also the Mind Foundation prior to launching the Beauty Chef. I was really compelled to help educate people around the importance of sustainability and in not only skincare but also from an environmental perspective. And also sustainability of our skin and our health.
yeah.
So for me, it was just a tick. It's like you look after your skin through using organic skincare and you're also looking after the planet. So I think those ambassadorships really deepened my advocacy for sustainable practices. And I felt really strongly. So that when I launched The Beauty Chef, I'd already been so immersed in that world and felt very strongly about making sure that our ingredients were clean and that we were partnered with these certifying bodies, and which we still do. Like we're partnered with FODMAP, with MSC, Marine Stewardship Council, and Australian Organic. And I feel so passionate about that.
Yeah.
But when I look at now what I would do, I mean, again, it's so immediate now. You can talk about what you're passionate about, what you stand for, your values. You can communicate that to the customer instantly. So for me, it's not about building, it's my passion.
Mm,
And so people ask me, do you get worried about competition and people that are doing things that are similar? And I think it's great that we're expanding the market and that there's more people that are talking about the importance of ingestibles and wellness for beauty and well-being, and it's
mm.
far more holistic. Do I get frustrated when brands don't do it well and they're just jumping on the bandwagon because it's trendy and they're not passionate about the ingredients, and that dilutes the category?
I can imagine that would be really frustrating.
That is,
Yeah.
it's super frustrating.
Mm.
But I also, I always say, which I think annoys some people on my board, because I'll say, I don't need, because I'll go, where do we win? Where do we play and where do we win? And I'm like, I don't need to win. I just
Mm,
need to shine. And I don't need to be the biggest brand in the world. I'm on a mission to be true to what I believe. And I think we still have so much to teach and to educate and to create beautiful products, but also a world where those products live that help people to live better. So a lifestyle, the education is so important to me. And I'm so passionate about the research and learning more and educating more. And there's still so much, like gut health is just beginning,
yeah.
and the impact it has, like the gut brain axis, the gut skin axis, the gut hormone axis, the gut metabolic axis. It's absolutely intriguing. And we're so lucky. We've got a state of the art fermentation plant. We work with leading microbiologists. We started in 2009, so we're so way ahead. So that never worries me because, again, I love what I do. So I don't mind really how big or how small it is. It
Yeah.
has to be commercially viable.
Yeah.
But if we can still do important work in creating products that really help change people's lives and education that really help them, then I feel like that for me is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, you're such an amazing example of somebody who, as a founder, embodies their brand and their mission and can speak so authentically to it. And I think a lot of brand builders and founders want to be able to do that. And I think you're just like such a wonderful example of somebody
Aw,
who does it really
thank
beautifully.
you.
And then what you said about competitors or people coming into the space, I think about people who are launching products now in this space and they're kind of using labs and contract manufacturers and
Yes.
they're probably piecing together the research that your team are pioneering. And so I can imagine that investing in this over the long term is something that sets you up to have a brand that has been able to last as long as it has.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I think I always say to founders as well, success is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
Mm,
When someone asks me, I've got an idea, I'll ask them, are you passionate about it? Are you happy to ride the tides? Because you're
yeah.
going to have really great highs and you'll have lows. And what gets you through is your grit. And that's your passion, your perseverance, you set goals, and you are. So for me, of course, the beauty chef's gone through its ups and downs, but I still have this grit and this kind of determination because I love what I do. And so when you love what you do, yes, it can be stressful, but that passion helps cut through that stress. And so I always ask, founders, are you really passionate? Is this just something, an idea that you haven't, explore it, sit with it, think, is this really what is my kind of heart's calling? And then look, some people do set up just businesses and that's fine too. Some people are like, for me, it's a business. I think it's a good idea. Am I passionate about it? No, but I see that it's going to be commercially viable.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I think like just the passion and interest about business itself as a
That's
game
ex-
can be the thing that drives you.
That's exactly right. And I
Yeah.
think that's great as well. And that's why I think founders, we come from, different
Yeah.
places. We're compelled, we're inspired by different things.
Yeah. I want to talk about press. I feel like the Beauty Chef has been featured absolutely everywhere. And in the beginning, you were as well. Like you got great press right from the get go. And your background is in journalism and
Yeah.
editorial, similar to me. But the landscape, everything is so different now. And
Different.
we're talking about affiliates, we're talking
Yeah.
about AI coming in and
Hmm.
changing search
Yeah.
and what that means for
Mm.
PR. What impact did PR have in the business in the beginning?
Mm.
And what were some of those early wins and how did they happen? Multiple part question. But then I want to also hear your thoughts on what role press plays now. And if a
Yeah.
brand is coming up now, like, should
Mm.
that be something they're focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, the landscape's so different from when I
Yeah.
launched. And press definitely had a huge impact on the business in the early days because that's all there was. It was like traditional press, PR, and we launched in 2009. But I'm just trying to think what year it was. No, it was actually so Cat Beauty, who I was talking to you about before, the New York clean beauty store, they talked to the New York Times about the beauty chef. And that's when I think it must have been 2014,
Mm-hmm.
we just got this influx of calls from all different retailers wanting to stock the beauty chef from all around the world. So that
Wow.
was amazing. So that showed the power of press. And then pre-COVID, when I was so worried, I was like, oh my, when COVID hit, this is going to, everyone was freaking out about business and retailers closing. And I was starting to go into damage control. I'm a really solutions-focused person. So I'm like, okay, thinking of everything that could go wrong. What is our plan? How are we going to get through this? And it was almost like the same week that we went into lockdown, and the Wentworth Courier had done a story on me, which is our local paper, and I was on the cover. And they talked about how all these celebrities loved the brand. And then somehow it got out into all the media that Meghan Markle loved the Beauty Chef and she loved Glow in a Beauty Powder. And I think that might have been through Sarah Chapman, who was a stockist. She's a facialist
Mm.
in
Yeah.
London. And we saw this incredible increase in our sales of like 20%, and it stayed
Wow.
20%. And then, of course, COVID was really good for the business. Like we saw a huge increase in our sales.
Because of the focus on health and wellness. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that was the beginning of it. And so PR and also things like awards. So
Yeah.
in America, pre-COVID, we were on a really amazing trajectory in the US. I was spending a lot of time in the US, and my 2 books got nominated for James Beard Awards.
Wow.
And so a lot of people, do you know the James Beard
Yeah.
Awards? So a lot of people in Australia don't know, but they're like the Oscars
Mhm.
for books in the US. And so it was like a pinch me moment. It was actually one of the first times I've had imposter syndrome, because I went to this amazing the awards ceremony, and in New York, my husband came, my daughter came. She was living in New York at the time. And we sat on this table with, what's his name? Nathan Mevold. So he was the CTO of Microsoft. He's a genius. He was such a big part of the building of Microsoft. I think he's a physicist. And then he went on to writing books, and he wrote a book which he was nominated for, and he won that night. I didn't win mine, but it was so amazing to be
Yeah.
nominated. So I was sitting with him. His book was, what's it called? Modernist Bread. And he created a whole series of these books. But to be sitting next to him and then my name and my book coming up alongside Ottolenghi
Mm.
and A Chef's Table, I got to meet all these food luminaries that I so admired. That was like a pinch me moment. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm an imposter. Like, how can I be here with Nathan involved? And then there's Ottolenghi up there and A Chef's Table, and that was incredible. And that really helped to boost the Beauty Chef in the US. So it was interesting, that combination of, again, I used to run masterclasses. So running masterclasses on how to look after your skin holistically, awards, traditional press, that really helped with building that credibility. And I think when you're a heritage brand, you have a history of trust and confidence. And we've got an amazing customer base who's really sticky and loyal, and they've been with us for a really long time. And that is absolutely very different to now. So press and is all the things I talked about, they're just one part of a much broader ecosystem. And press, I think, is still incredibly important, but it's just one part of it. So
Mm.
press, influencers, user-generated content, super important, because you don't want to be the only one espousing about how amazing your brand is. Getting real people to do it is incredibly powerful. And then you have your owned channels, your TikTok, your blogs, your EDMs, Instagram, all those social platforms. Now Substack. I don't do Substack. I really want to do Substack, but
You should totally
I
do
don't have
Substack.
time. But I'm a huge fan of Substack. And so you absolutely, I think, have to look at, be across all those touch points. But again, I think it's just working out, where is your customer? What's a communication? What's a platform that resonates with them the most? Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. You have to just keep trying and not be disheartened. Some things don't work. And you go, they mustn't like what I'm doing. Or it's like,
Mm.
no, maybe it's just not the right type of content. You've got to try short form, long form, written content, video. Is it the delivery? Is it that it's not clicky enough because people's attention spans, they want something really clicky straight away. So you get them in with something clickier, and then you educate. You just have to keep trying
Mm.
different formats. But no matter what format you do, I don't think the principles change in terms of being genuine, authentic, and generous.
What do you mean by generous?
I think being generous of spirit, like giving your customers value and education,
Yeah.
and not always expecting there to be a transaction either. And because I want to help people genuinely have better gut health for their skin and wellness. Yes, I want them to purchase the products. I know our products are going to help them, and I want to keep building a brand, and that's important. But I love the fact, like, even after the event we did at the social summit the other day, I had the audience coming to me and one, different, telling me stories about how my work and my books had changed their trajectory in terms of their work. One lady was like, I became a nutritionist because of you.
Oh, wow.
And, getting that kind of feedback, or you can completely change my skin, you
Mm.
change my gut health. When I read your book and did your diet, in terms of my anxiety, it really helped. And, getting that kind of feedback for me is so rewarding.
Can I switch gears for a minute? I want to ask about team building. I'm really curious about what the Beauty Chef team looks like now
Yeah.
and what your first kind of hires were and how you built that.
So the first hire was part-time marketing. Oh, no, that's not true. PR.
Mhm.
I think PR it was an agency.
Yep.
And then it was a part-time marketing person and part-time operations, and then customer care.
Yep.
And so we definitely, through COVID, we went through a huge growth period and we hired a lot of new staff. And then post-COVID, we shrunk down a little bit. And now we have around 26 people at the
Okay.
Beauty Chef, and we have an amazing team. Like, I think our culture in the last 4 or 5 years has just been amazing. Like, everyone's so collaborative and caring, and they're all talented individuals, but we all work together so well collectively. And that, for me, like I always say, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Strategy is absolutely, I'm super strategic in the way I think about things, and that's so important to run a business, but culture is, your people are so important.
What about funding? You started the business in the beginning, you said with like a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
Have you brought on investors? What's the
Yeah.
process been there?
So I started with the $3,000, and when I got a $20,000 order with TBSN, my agent, who's Rob, and he's still my agent now, we're very good friends. He was so sweet. He said, I so believe in what you're doing. And he said, I'm going to lend you $20,000 to do your first big order with TBSN. So he lent me that money, and then it just kept growing, and that's how I grew the business. And then probably around 2014, it got to a point where I needed a little bit more money. I needed a few $100,000 to be able to fulfill orders.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because banks always say they're really supportive of female founders, but I have never found that.
Mhm.
So I just want to, and you go to them and you're like, I'm profitable. I'm building this great brand. Everything looks really good. Why won't you lend to me?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that has changed because I haven't needed it over the last while. But in the early days, it was really hard to get that support from banks. And I still wonder whether there's that gender, because even when you look at how many female founders actually do get funding compared to male founders in all different areas.
Well, Carly, you think about 50 years ago in the US was the first time women could get a credit card without having their husband or father sign
Yeah.
for it.
It's amazing.
50 years ago.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Mm.
But when they also say, oh, we support founders, female founders, and you go, well, what am I presenting? What's wrong? It's profitable. You can see we've got turnover. You can see we've got strong partnerships. We've got
People are
contracts.
nodding, listening to this like, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, I need to get a couple $100,000 together. So my best friend and my sister invested. And what's so wonderful is to see them get return from the
Yeah.
brand. And it does add another layer of responsibility, though, that's also nerve-wracking because you feel an incredible responsibility running a brand anyway, but then you have this added responsibility to your investors who are friends and family.
Mm.
So thankfully that worked out well. Because
I mean, if
I've
my
heard
sister
lots
invested in my business, there'd be no other option. We'd have to do well.
that's it.
Yeah.
And that also has been a driver. Like, okay, I have to make sure that I
Yeah.
make good on this. And so then we got private equity investment in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got some capital into the business, which was great. That really allowed us to invest in growth. And then just recently, we just also got another investor in the business. And this time, really strategic investor, someone who has not only can help put in money for growth and growth capital, also has incredible operational expertise. And so that's super exciting.
The last thing I want to ask you, actually, I'm going to ask you for some resources in a minute, but the last kind of deep question I want to ask you is around what you're doing when you think about gut health and your own wellness routines as someone who is this like high functioning woman. You are an entrepreneur, you're a mother, you are traveling. What are some of the things that you're doing to fuel yourself, and what do you think is kind of the next frontier of wellness and beauty?
So gut health,
Yeah.
gut health, gut health, gut health. So because your gut, so I have seen the more that I focus on my gut health, the more energy I have, the more my hormones are balanced, the more level I feel emotionally. It is, your gut, and more research is showing, that your gut has this it's like a bidirectional highway between your gut and your brain, your gut and your skin, your gut and your metabolic health, your gut and your immune health, your gut and your hormonal health.
Mm.
So we have even an estrobolome, which is basically a set of bacteria that is in our gut microbiome, and it helps to regulate and recycle and helps in the elimination process of estrogen. So especially when women are going through all throughout life, it's super important. But when you're going through the change in
Mm.
perimenopause and menopause, it's so important. Gut health is absolutely key. And so I'm so focused on gut health. So I eat really, really well. And also because I have a predisposition to eczema and dermatitis. And so when I don't look after my gut health, my eczema will start to flare. So I know that I need to keep my gut health really healthy and robust. And when I get a little bit of eczema, that's the first sign that it's like, oh, yeah, I've been traveling for 3 weeks, haven't been able to look after my gut health as much. Got some more stress. And we also know that it's not just diet. Like diet is probably the single most important factor that influences your gut health and your gut microbiome. But stress, sleep, they are all things that also compromise your body's ability to maintain a healthy gut microbiome. So lifestyle factors. So I'm really focused on lifestyle factors. I do work a lot, but I make sure I eat well. I try and go to bed as early as possible. I wake up early. I'm a really early
What
riser.
when you say you go to bed as early as possible, how early are you going to bed?
9:30.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Yeah.
never used to,
Yep.
but I'm also aware, like I'm not menopausal yet, but I'm in my 50s,
Yep.
and I am mindful that that's coming. And I guess
Mm.
I'm a late
Yep.
I haven't, I've got all my friends who've gone through it and going through it. So I'm also really making sure that I'm setting myself up for when I start I must be in perimenopause statistically, but I still go my period
Wow.
regularly. I don't have any signs yet of it.
Yep.
I'm like going, really? And my girlfriends who are like past it, like by 5 years,
Can I just say you look 41 or 42?
oh, that's so lovely.
Like, you're the best advertisement for your lifestyle
Oh, thank
and
you.
your
Thank
products.
you.
I've
That's
gotta go
very
look after my gut
your gut
health.
health. But it's so important. It is really, and I see the difference when I don't because I'm so tuned into my body and how it sort of,
Yeah.
works. And then at different stages of life, like I look at a lot of women will say to me, I'm eating well, I'm exercising 10 times a day, I'm doing this, I'm fasting.
Mhm.
And I think we've got to be really careful to kind of not overdo it. And it's like, yes, but that kind of exercise puts stress on your body. And we know moderate and regular exercise is so important for looking after your gut microbiome and your health. It's one of the most important things you can do,
Mm.
listening to our bodies. So, if you have a really stressful time at work, don't then go necessarily to the gym and pump for,
Yeah.
maybe, yes, exercise, but go a bit gentler, like nourishing and nurturing your body. And I see that also in women in their 50s are going really hard. I've got to go hard and build muscle for improving bone density, doing strength training. And I'm like, it's so important. But also, you're actually just overdoing it. You're putting so much stress on your body. So you've also got to be kind to your body and nourishing and look after your gut health, do the exercise, but also listen to your body. I used to be a huge Pilates fan. I love Pilates and I love that strength training and the focus on core. And I still do Pilates. But I'm finding I really love yoga.
Mm.
I'm really getting into it because I'm really appreciating the mind benefits of yoga. And again, it's not just about getting fitter and toner. It's holistic. It's about nurturing your body, nurturing your gut, nurturing your mind,
I love that.
and getting also into the ocean. Super important.
I love that.
Yeah.
Last question for resource recommendation.
Yeah.
Something everyone's listening here, they're all fired up, they're inspired, they want to
Yeah.
go and do something like what you've done.
Yes.
What's something a step that they can take, a book they can read, something that you recommend? You recommended a good book on stage the other day when I interviewed
And I
you.
guess The Creative Act
Yeah, maybe it
by
was that one.
Rick Rubin. So I'm very brand first
Yes.
and customer first, and then business sort of follows. But in terms of creativity and, I think remaining curious and listening to people, listening to your customers, I ask so many questions. I think I drive people crazy. And especially if I find someone really interesting and like a mentor, I'm like, can I just ask you one more question? So I think I've learned a lot from asking questions, listening to podcasts, reading lots of books, looking at documentaries, and not just in my space, but thought leaders, creatives, artists, chefs.
Mm.
And like even I read a listened to a podcast around, what's his name? He runs 11 Madison Park. It's that restaurant in New York,
Yes.
Will Gadira.
Okay, yep.
And he has written a book called, what is it? Unreasonable Hospitality. And I love it because it's all about just customer comes first, connecting with the customer, how to create really memorable, long-lasting experiences for your customer. And I listened to the podcast that he was talking about. I think it's a book that he's written, but I was listening to the podcast, him talking about it. And it was so interesting. And I got so much out of that, even though he's in hospitality. And then Rick Rubin, who I love, he's a real creative. He's a producer, like he produced like albums like the Beastie Boys. And his book, The Creative Act, and it talks about how as a creative, it's so important that ideas are like a frequency and that you just have to be open-minded to tap into it. And I think to stay relevant, you just got to be really open-minded, absorb everything around you and be in that frequency. And that's why I always go, how is it that I think of an idea and then someone else in Paris is doing the same thing? How does that work?
Mm.
And then in terms of resources, I think Future Females is an organization. I really want to connect with them. I haven't yet, but for founders, I think they provide amazing resources and information for connectivity. And it's something I wish I had have done more so maybe in the early years. In the last 3-4 years, I've been really mindful about connecting with female CEOs
Yeah.
and founders, and that's opened up a whole world. So that's so important. Get a group together, be proactive because you learn so much, and they can be founders in other industries. But what you notice is they'll say, oh, yeah, I went through that as well. And you go, oh, my God, because sometimes it feels really lonely when you're a founder CEO. And like, is it just me going through this? And you realize that it is really common. And then you can share your experiences, how you remedied it or how you handled a certain situation. And then I guess, we talked about it the other day around finance. So I'm a creative, but I've had to learn to love maths. And it's so important for founders to love maths or learn to love maths or even like it or just learn to have a better relationship with it, because staying close to your
Yeah.
numbers is crucial, because that commercial financial viability allows you to be creative and grow a brand.
Yeah.
And yes, you want to delegate and trust people in your business. That's super important. But you still really always need to maintain a closeness to your numbers.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that that's part of this conversation where we've been focusing on brand building and content and press. And it's like, no, bring it back to the numbers as well. That gives you the freedom to be able to do all of those things.
Yeah, really important.
Carla, thank you so much for coming on
Thank
Female
you.
Founder World and for sharing your story. You are very inspiring.
Thank you. I think you are too. Thanks, Jasmine.
I just wanted to jump in and end the show with a quick thank you and shout out to all of our paid Business Bestie subscribers. Business Besties bypass literally years of networking by getting access to all of the people that you need to build your dream business. You also get invited to exclusive monthly group business coaching call sessions where you can speak to experts and founders and ask them all of those questions that you just can't Google. You can cancel anytime. Head to bestie.femalefounderworld.com or click the link in the show notes for more.